Fall 7 times, stand up 8. It sounds simple, too simple. But the truth hidden in these words? It could be the very reason you don't quit today. Life doesn't test you once. It tests you again and again and again. Just when you think you've made it, something else hits. And for most people, one fall is enough to walk away. But not you. This quote tells us one thing. The fight is not about how many times you fall. The fight is about how many times you rise. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who started a business. He put everything into it, his savings, his time, his heart, and it failed. He was embarrassed, broke, crushed. Everyone told him to give up, to get a regular job, and he almost did. But something in him said, just try again. He started over, and failed again. 7 times he watched his dreams collapse. 7 times he felt the weight of defeat. But the 8th time, that was the one that changed everything. You see, most people only remember the success. They don't ask about the scars behind the smile. But scars tell stories. Scars mean you survived. Fall 7 times, stand up 8. It means you might cry, you might lose people, you might feel like a joke. But as long as there's breath in your lungs, you're still in the game. Do you know how many people stop just one try before the breakthrough? They quit in the dark, not knowing the light was just a few steps away. The enemy of your destiny is not failure. It's giving up after failure. Let me speak to you if you're there right now. In the middle of a silent battle. Nobody knows what you're going through. You smile outside, but you're dying inside. You're tired, you've prayed, you've tried. And it feels like nothing is working. But I want to tell you something real. You are stronger than you think. This fall is not the end. It's part of the rise. Every time you stand back up, your mindset shifts. You stop asking, why me, and start saying, try me. Because failure builds muscle. It builds patience. It builds courage. When you stand the 8th time, you don't stand the same. You stand wiser. You stand bolder. You stand with a story the world can't ignore. So today, wipe off the dust. Silence the shame. Ignore the noise. And rise one more time. Even if your legs shake. Even if your heart is still healing. Stand anyway. Because you're not done yet. The same people who watched you fall will soon watch you rise. And when you finally rise, don't forget to tell others. I fell 7 times, but I stood up 8. And that made all the difference. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Let's be honest, if success depended on feelings, most people would never make it. Because feelings are liars. They whisper, you're tired, take a break. They say, you've worked hard enough, skip today. They convince you that comfort is safer than growth. But discipline? Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. Discipline says, do it anyway. This quote cuts deep because it tells you something most people run from. Your future is not built by motivation. It's built by discipline. Motivation is the spark. Discipline is the fire that stays lit long after the spark fades. We all start excited. Everyone wants to start a business, lose weight, write a book, chase a dream. But when the excitement fades, when it's 5 a.m., when it's raining, when no one claps for you, only the disciplined remain. Let me tell you a story. There was a young man who wanted to be a boxer. He had heart, passion, talent. He trained hard for a week, maybe 2. But every time he got tired, he skipped training. Every time his friends invited him out, he left the gym. He said, I'll do it tomorrow, over and over, until one day, tomorrow never came. He never made it. Why? Not because he wasn't gifted, but because he wasn't disciplined. And that's what kills more dreams than failure ever could. Because discipline isn't flashy. It's not something people celebrate on Instagram. It's not loud, it's not emotional. It's quiet, consistent, and painfully repetitive. But it's also the difference between wishing and winning. Discipline is showing up when nobody's watching. Discipline is choosing the gym over the couch. Discipline is saying no to distractions, no to shortcuts, and yes to the grind. Even when you're tired, even when you're sad, even when you feel like quitting, especially when you feel like quitting. You think champions feel great every day? You think entrepreneurs wake up excited 365 days a year? You think soldiers train because it's fun? No, they do it because it's necessary. They've trained their minds to obey even when their feelings rebel. That's discipline. And here's the truth. Your life will never rise higher than your level of discipline. You can have all the goals in the world, but if you can't control your habits, they mean nothing. Because discipline is the bridge between your goals and your results. You want to get in shape? Discipline. You want to grow a business? Discipline. You want to have peace of mind, strong faith, deep love? All of that takes daily, disciplined decisions. Now let's talk about pain. Discipline is painful, but so is regret. So ask yourself, which pain are you willing to live with? The pain of discipline builds you. The pain of regret breaks you. You see, there's a version of you, strong, focused, successful, respected. But that version isn't unlocked by dreaming. It's unlocked by daily sacrifices. The only limit to our realization of tomorrow is our doubts of today. These words hit harder the more you think about them, because we often believe it's the world that limits us, our background, our resources, or the people around us. But most of the time, it's not the outside world holding us back. It's our own mind. It's the doubts we feed every single day. You have a vision. You want more out of life. You dream of success, freedom, peace, purpose. But then the doubt creeps in. It tells you you're not qualified. It says you're too late, too ordinary, too inexperienced. And suddenly, you're not chasing your dream anymore. You're just surviving. Not because you couldn't, but because you didn't believe you could. Doubt is a quiet killer. It won't show up screaming. It'll show up in hesitation, in delay, in silence. It convinces you to wait until you're more ready, more confident, more perfect. But that wait, it turns into years. And before you know it, your tomorrow becomes a repetition of your yesterday, full of what-ifs and almosts. But here's the truth. The future is wide open. Your potential isn't fixed. You were never meant to play small. The only real limits are the ones you build in your mind. Every time you choose to believe your doubt over your dream, you trade greatness for comfort. But comfort never leads to legacy. Let me remind you, every person you admire, every success story you've ever heard, started with doubt. But they moved anyway. They acted before they felt ready. And that's the secret. Belief grows through action. Courage is not the absence of doubt, it's doing it despite the doubt. So what about you? How much longer will you let fear tell your story? How many more dreams will you bury before they even take shape? What if you stopped feeding your doubts and started feeding your faith? What if you stopped waiting for permission and started walking in purpose? Because you're not behind, you're not too late, you're not underqualified. You're just one bold decision away from changing everything. The only thing standing between the life you want and the one you're living is belief. So today, make a choice. Silence the lies. Move forward. Speak life. Believe in your power, in your voice, in your vision. Tomorrow is still yours to build, but you have to start now. Not when you're ready. Now. Because the only limit to your tomorrow is your doubt today.